Is this your fucking little runt here? Teach him some manners. Thomas, get him out.
Come! Get down! Hansi! Had enough of you stupid things! Yes!
We're from MNU. We require your scroll on this eviction notification. Yes, it's eviction notice. Put your scroll on the bottom there. See, there's your name at the top. Christopher Johnson. You're going to put your name at the bottom. You're going to another place, a nice new city built especially for prawns.
Special place.
And we're not even going to charge you, okay? Yeah. Sign the fucking paper.
You don't have a choice in the matter. You just have to sign this document. That's all.
This guy's obviously he's a little sharper, you know. So we're gonna have to try something. All right, hello. Okay. Seems like we didn't understand each other there properly, eh? Okay. So you've got a little one there, eh? Do you have a license for that little one? Well, you see this litter out here. This is dangerous conditions for your child. Article 75 says that because your child is living in dangerous conditions, I'm going to take him down to child services. I'm going to go and have a little chat with your little son. No, don't point your fucking tentacles at me. You said you want to stay. Your boy is coming down with me to child services. He's going to spend the rest of his life in a one.
So we're back. All right. Welcome to The Show Must Go On, everyone. My name is Rory Dunn. I'll be your host this evening, day, week, whenever. And I'm joined, as always, by my co-host, Tim Kaler. How are you doing, Tim?
I'm doing good, Rory. How are you?
I'm doing well. Are you excited for this episode?
Yeah, I am.
Yeah?
Yeah.
This is the show where we take a film that never got a prequel, sequel, or spin-off, and we pitch that film. And then hopefully someday someone will hear this and be like, that's a good idea. Mystery Men does need a sequel. That movie that did terribly at the box office and nobody talks about it anymore. Let's do that. And you're probably wondering who won our Mystery Men episode, because
I am.
The audience gets to go home and vote for which movie they'd like to see. And this one was unanimous. It was a blowout, basically.
Was it?
Yes. The winner was Mystery Men 2. Sure, why not?
Yay for me.
You're really excited. Arms thrown up and everything.
Even without my Invisible Boy reveal, which was going to be, for those of you that did listen to it.
Those of you who are binge listening to the podcast.
Yeah. The Invisible Boy reveal was going to be when the Mystery Men were making their launch their attack on the building to go after the conspirator. Mm-hmm. There was going to be a room full of lasers that they had to try and get through, and they couldn't figure out how to get through it. And all of a sudden they all turned invisible and went through it. And then on the other side, Invisible Boy reveals himself and is like, yeah, I've learned to master my powers. I was with you all along. It would be sort of like a Jesus thing. Like, I never left your side. And I just thought it was going to be a good reveal, similar to what he did in the first movie, where all of a sudden his powers were real. And so, but even without Invisible
that
Boy reveal, I won.
You
Yay.
won. Yes. So I chose last episode, so you chose the movie for this week. What movie are we doing, Tim?
We are doing District 9.
Yes. Now, this is our first Best Picture nominated film.
Oh, is it?
It was Best Picture nominated, which is surprising because, science fiction not popular for Oscars a lot of times.
Right.
And I haven't watched this film. I don't know about you. I hadn't watched it since its release. I forgot how violent this movie was.
Yeah, no, I've watched it a couple times since it came out. And one thing that I find interesting about it, which I'm sure you probably know, is like how small the budget was for this. And did it come out the same year that Avatar came out?
Yes.
Yeah. So they were talking about like how Avatar had this huge budget, and then this movie had like a decimal point of the budget that Avatar did, and its special effects are amazing.
Yeah, they're fantastic.
It still holds up now.
Oh, yeah.
However many years since it's come out. So
yeah, it looked better than any special effect in Suicide Squad.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, I forgot how violent it was, but it's such a great film.
It is,
and I'm surprised that we haven't actually seen a sequel for it yet.
Well, I guess Neil Blomkamp,
whatever,
that guy. He has an idea for a sequel.
Oh, okay.
But he sort of did District 9 and Elysium and Chappie as sort of a trilogy.
Oh, okay.
Because they were all sort of dealing with the same sort of motif, and also he incorporated like a similar storytelling element for each of them.
Yeah.
And so after he did Chappie, he was like, well, I have an idea for a sequel, but I'm kind of done with that style of movie making. So maybe one day there will be a sequel, but I think he did the Aliens movie that's coming out.
No, he didn't. He was going to do a sequel to Aliens, but his got scrapped completely. This new one is Ridley Scott, actually.
Oh, it is? Okay.
Yeah, so... Yeah, but... All right, so maybe this will be our big break. Maybe we will inspire him to be like, yes, I need to do the sequel.
I think, Neil... I think we've got a pretty big listenership in South Africa.
Yes.
And also New Zealand, where Peter Jackson is, so...
Yeah, those are our biggest numbers by far. Pulling in big from literally all the way across the world. Yeah.
Yeah, so maybe. Okay, so I get to go first, right?
You get to go first.
All right, so mine is District 10. I think that's the pretty obvious sequel name, especially because at the end of the first movie, they said that they were in District 10.
Yes, exactly.
And the subtitle to it is Escalation. So Christopher Johnson's son, who isn't named, so Christopher Johnson is the one prawn, I guess. We don't know what their actual alien name is, but he was the one that was working with Wikus, yeah, to try and get the command module back up to the ship. So his son, who they don't ever name in the first movie, I've named him Jonathan. He's
sucking up to the producer, I see. Yes.
Who's the producer? Oh, our producer. Yes.
Our producer, John.
Our producer, John. Yeah. So he is back on his home planet, and he's his dad, Christopher Johnson, whatever it was. His dad died on the journey back home.
Oh, okay.
So he's become very militant. Like seen the treatment of his people on Earth, and seen the way that Wikus sort of backstabbed his dad repeatedly. Yeah. He's like, humans are horrible. So he's become very militarized. And it's also shown to us, because they never explain why the ship ended up on Earth in District 9. So it's revealed to us that this species or this planet, whatever it is, they're sort of like a galactic peacekeeper.
Oh, okay.
So they go to different planets and just maintain peace, kind of thing. That they've never been to Earth. They were aware of Earth always, but they've never gone because they knew that we didn't know about any other life on any other planets, and also they felt that us on Earth were too violent as it is, so they're like, we're just going to leave that planet alone and not worry about it. Yeah. But while they were returning to their home planet from a peacekeeping mission, the leaders on the ship got ill, and they were like, well, we need to stop, do an emergency landing somewhere. Yeah. Earth was the nearest planet that was habited by intelligent life, so then that's where they landed. And then, of course, in the meantime, between when they decided to land there and when humans opened it up, they were, they all died off, kind of thing.
Yeah, the sickness kind of spread.
Right. So it was just, like they said, it was just sort of the lower level grunts that were still alive.
Okay.
So then Christopher's son, Jonathan, he's become a lot more militant, and he's on his home planet. He finds out that there's a plan to rescue the prawns on Earth, but he feels that that's not going to work. He's like, no, we can't rescue them. We need, the humans aren't going to deal with this. We need to go down there with a military force. And of course the leaders on his planet are like, no, that's not what we do. We're just going to go and rescue them and take them home. And of course his theory is, again, similar to the humans' theory, is that the humans on Earth are all of a lower level intellect, evidenced by the fact that they haven't even figured out inter-system travel. or advanced weaponry.
Yeah.
And so he figures, again, much like the humans did, that all of the smarter humans have either all died off or have left the planet, and so it's just the lower level violent
Yeah.
species that are left. So then we cut back to Earth, so where Wikus has he's found. So again, it's kind of hard because we don't know a lot of names of some of the previous movies, but Chris's friend, the guy that gets killed,
Yeah.
when they go into his house and they see the spray that sprays onto Wikus' face.
Yeah.
He had a son, which they don't reveal in that movie, but he had a son too. And so Wikus finds him, and so he's like one of the smarter prawns, and so his sort of higher intellect with Wikus' knowledge of human politics and just human language and human everything have started forming like a sort of like a beginning levels of a government and a militia and stuff like that. And what their goal is to try and be recognized as their own governing body kind of thing.
Yeah.
And so they use some of Wikus' connections still in the human side of things. So it's, I think his name was Fundiswa.
Yeah.
He was Wikus' assistant. That at the end they say he was going to go to jail because he revealed some.
Well, he was in jail.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. He was in jail waiting trial, is what it was, because he had revealed some stuff that MNU was doing, and so that was what he was in trial for. So he's out of jail, and so Fundiswa has started an organization on the human side of things, aimed at also helping to get the prawns their own government and their own sort of land, so that they can be their own country, I guess. So then, and with dealings with like different mercenary groups and organized crime and their human counterparts, they've managed to retrieve a lot of the weapons that were originally stolen by MNU. Because MNU was prohibited from doing any more biological experimentation. So they were like, well, no one's going to be able to use this except for the prawns. So it was just all kind of locked away in storage.
Yeah.
And so through backroom dealings, they were able to get all of those back. So back on the prawn planet, the government decides that they're going to send, or they've decided that they can't interfere in the dealings on Earth. So they're just going to put together a diplomatic mission to head to Earth to just recover the stranded prawns. And Chris's son, Jonathan, arranges to be on that diplomatic mission, which they agree to send him because he's like the only person who's got any familiarity with Earth.
Yeah.
And he also brings along some of his radicalized militia people onto the ship with him. So then back on Earth, we see the other son, who I just named him Charles, and he advises Wikus that they're going to launch a strike on Johannesburg to capture some high-level hostages in an attempt to force recognition of their government.
Oh, okay.
Wikus is trying to explain to them, like, this isn't going to work. Like, if we do this, they're just going to see that as an attack. They're not going to recognize our government. The only way that we can actually get a government recognized is through just diplomacy and talking and stuff like that. And Charles is saying, like, well, no, humans can't be trusted. The only way to communicate with them is in the language that they understand, which is through fear and violence. And then there's this sort of this, it's the way I've got it written here is going to be pretty cheesy.
Yeah.
But basically it's like Wikus says to Charles, like, well, you trust me, you know, saying like, you know, I'm a human and you trust me. And Charles is like, well, no, look at yourself. Like, you're not a human.
You are not a human.
Right. That's why I trust you. Right.
Yeah.
You're one of us. So the prawns start their strikes. Wikus is in on one of the strikes, and he learns that what he's doing is he's going to abduct his father-in-law.
Oh, okay.
Right. And so they're in the house, and as they're storming the house, going through, trying to find him, Wikus sees wedding pictures of his wife having married another man. And it's sort of, you can sort of see in the pictures, like, he's high up in MNU just with his father-in-law. There's pictures of the father-in-law with him being super happy, like going for
Yeah.
a round of golf, and just like, here's
Yeah.
the son-in-law I always wanted, kind of thing, right? And then so he completely is just tied into all of this. The strike happens without him. He's just looking at all these pictures and realizing that his whole life has crumbled away. And so he's sort of stunned. And so as they're leaving, the prawns grab him, like, okay, it's time to go. And then when they're in the vehicle heading back to their District 10, the other prawns are talking about how the mission was a success. They got Peter Smith, I think his name was, and it was so good they actually got two hostages. And Wikus finds out that his wife was the other hostage. So when they're back at District 10, then Wikus gets access to his wife's cell. He wants to go and say hi to her, like he's never interacted with her since all of this happened in District 9. And of course she can't understand what he's saying. So he gives to her one of those garbage flowers.
Yeah.
Right. And so he tries to hand it to her, and she just like slaps it out of his hand. She's like repulsed by him and like, finds him just scary and everything. So of course his heart is
broken
over all of this. Yeah. So then there's a media announcement that they've got these hostages, and if their government isn't recognized, then they're going to start killing off the hostages. Whatever time frame they give. For every month or whatever that we don't get recognized, we're going to kill off a hostage. So in response, the humans prepare their military all around, and so it's similar to how District 9 looked, like they've got walls up and stuff around it. So they start setting up their military around it, preparing for either a preemptive strike or just in defense. And at this point, then Jonathan's ship arrives, like from the prawn planet. And it hovers over top of where District 10 is, and he's saying to like the leaders of the ship, like, look, this is what the humans do. They're getting ready to just eradicate all of the prawns that are there. They wanted to do it when I was here before, and so now they're doing it. Like, you can see all of their military stuff set up. So he convinces the leadership that is what's happening, and so like, okay, well, we've got to do something. And so then they launch an attack on the humans in the area. So now we have a big fight, like war battle on the ground between like the refugee prawns and the humans on the ground, plus in the air with the ship coming down and attacking them and stuff. And then in the end, we have the Jonathan has like the prawns have sort of won. There's been, huge casualties on all sides. And they've sort of taken over Johannesburg, and they say like, okay, well, there's too many, because at the end of District 9, there's like 2.5 million. And so this I've figured would be probably about 10 years into the future. So now we've probably got 5 to 10 million of the prawns there. So they're like, well, we can't leave. Like, we are here now. And so they sort of take over South Africa, and they say, this is now our country. And they sort of start kicking out all the humans and like pushing them out to the edges and everything. And that's sort of like the ending of it is just sort of like the prawn, like Jonathan being established as the leader of the prawn government and then they would rename South Africa and Johannesburg. I don't know what they would rename it to, but and it's just sort of the ending of the movie is them setting up their, and it could be told sort of in the same way that they did at the end of District 9, just like, this is what happened to this person, this is what happened to this person, and it's just them like setting up their own government and pushing all the humans out, and the only humans that are allowed to stay are the ones that were sort of on the side of the prawns from the beginning, and it's almost becomes like a reverse genocide on, like, if you're a human left on the other side of the wall by this certain date, you're locked up or killed. And then that's basically the end of District 10 escalation.
Okay. So I find it interesting that you decide to make Christopher or Jonathan kind of a villain a little bit.
Well, I didn't want to make sort of what I was trying to do in that story was like in District 9, they were trying to show like, you know, like it was an analogy for the apartheid or also for like the Holocaust.
Yeah.
And they wanted to show like how Wikus goes from being like, actually the way Neil Blomkamp said it was he went from being a Nazi to being one of the oppressed.
Yeah.
So that's the story that he was wanting to tell. So in this one, what I thought would be an interesting extension of that is sort of showing how, you know, trying to oppress a certain group of people or trying to impose your will or control or whatever, all it does is just create radicalism. And so, like, we would look at Jonathan as a bad guy.
Yeah.
But from the prawn side of things, he's a hero.
Yeah.
He's bringing what they wanted. He's bringing their own government and their own country, and he's bringing about peace as they see it happen. Like, basically just by getting rid of the humans. So, yeah, from the human side, he's a bad guy because that was one of the things I always liked about District 9 was like it was an alien movie and the aliens came to Earth, but we were the bad guys.
Yeah.
Like the humans were the bad guys in that movie, right?
Yeah.
And so in this one, I wanted it to be like, well, sure, maybe Jonathan now he's come back to Earth and he's waging war on humans, but it's still just in defense of
His
the
way of life.
mistreatment, and the mistreatment of his people. And if that hadn't happened in District 9, if the humans had treated them properly and, you know, with respect and everything like that, then this wouldn't have happened. Then it could have been just a peaceful mission where they just came back and they're just like, okay, hey guys, we're just here to pick up these guys and head back home. Thanks, see you later, kind of thing.
And why don't the prawns just decide to go back home? Why do they decide, okay, we're going to actually form a government here on another planet? And
Like before Jonathan shows up or afterwards?
before and after, yeah.
Well, before they had nowhere to go.
Yeah.
Right, because the ship left. So it was 2.5 million prawns left on Earth. So they're just like, well, we don't know when they're coming back. So we just need to try and so the sort of the attitude that changed from District 9 to District 10 is in District 9 there was no organization. It was just there was just the one guy, Chris, who was trying to get back home. You know, to be able to come back and rescue all of his people. To in this one, them sort of being like, okay, well now we're stuck here. So the few that were smart enough to sort of organize were like, okay, we can't just try and get home. We need to try and just make a life for ourselves here.
Yeah.
And then when Jonathan arrives, it's just because of the vast numbers that are there, it's just like we're not going to be able to take all of these people home. So so we need to stay here and we're going to have to live together. But because he's become so radicalized through the oppression that he faced, he feels the only way that we can live together is for me to now oppress the humans and just, you know, kick them out and make a space for ourselves. And,
Do you think that they would start shipping people home, or do you think, no, we're here to stay for good?
well, I think at this point it also kind of goes again because like District 9 was looking at a lot of different social aspects of like how the world works and stuff like that. And I was thinking like in this point, by the time they've come back, you've probably got the generation of people that came to Earth have probably all died off already. Or I say people, but like the generation of prawns have all died off. So now you've probably got 2 or 3 generations deep of prawns that have all they know is Earth. So for them to be like, well, are you like, oh, well, we're going to go home. They're going to be, well, this is home.
Yeah.
Like, why would I go to some other planet that I've never even seen, that I don't even know what it's like? Like, why don't we just make a home for ourselves here? So it becomes like one of those situations where it's like, no, this is home. We're just going to make the best of the scenario.
We're
we
here
have
now.
here.
This is our home. Yeah.
And I mean, you could even explore the possibility that some people are going to start moving home and some people from the home planet are going to start moving to Earth.
Yeah. Kind of colonization.
Right.
Yeah. And you can add that to a bit of the allegory and
Yeah.
everything. Yeah.
So that was, District 9 escalation.
District 10 escalation.
escalation.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll hear my pitch for the sequel for District 9.
Yay.
You guys haven't seen my wife. Let me show you my wife. It's my special angel. She even looks like an angel with the halo. Do you want to see that? Look, you see with the white veil over the head, she even looks like an angel. Now everyone says that his wife is an angel, but this is a real angel that you are seeing there on the cameras. They won't put that in the video, I don't think.
I found this at my front door, as though somebody had just left it there. My friends say I should just throw it away because it's just a piece of rubbish. That couldn't possibly come from him. I know it's true.
And we're back. So, now it's my turn to pitch my sequel, and I did things a little differently, because as you said, like, District 10 is the obvious title.
Yeah.
I decided to go something I planned a little bit of a marketing strategy to mine, actually. Because something that's happened a little recently is the surprise sequel. Like 10 Cloverfield Lane.
Right.
It wasn't revealed it was related to Cloverfield till like a month beforehand. The Blair Witch Project was known as The Forest for up to 2 weeks before it was released.
Oh, okay.
So I kind of thought mine would be along that lines, where it would have a different kind of separate title, but it would end up like a few weeks before it's released to be revealed to be, it's a District 9 sequel.
Okay.
So my title is actually Project Commoner.
Okay.
Yeah, so I think it would start probably with just a quick repeat of Christopher Robin saying, I'll be back in 4 years. 4 years is the time period he gave.
3 years.
3 years?
Yeah.
3 years, sorry. And then it will be that. And then we'll start seeing news footage. It will kind of open on that of like countries, rising tension just across the planet, really. There's countries that are like, we have to kill all the prawns right now because when the ships come back, they're going to start a war, and we don't want to be fighting them on the ground and in the air. And other countries, other groups are just like, no, if we kill them, that's what's going to initiate the war. They don't want to fight with us. They just probably want to come back and get their people if they are coming back at all. So, rising tension just across the globe, just right wing, left wing, just coming out. And basically there's terrorism starting to start on both sides. There's left wing terrorism that are attacking MNU and stuff like that. And right wing people, there's heavy hate crimes committed against District 10 and the prawns in general. And then we get just a flash. It's 20 years later.
Okay.
That's where we start off. So there's two main characters of mine. I actually looked up common baby names now for our two lead characters because I wanted them to be younger. I wanted them to be like an everyman because I don't remember his last name, but Wikus, the name of Wikus...
Wertis or something like that?
Yeah. It actually has a very specific meaning in South Africa of being like an incompetent person, an incompetent like government official.
Okay.
So I thought it would be good to have like two main characters with names that are kind of similar. That these names mean these people are young and probably a little inexperienced. So the names are Lassetti for the girl and Bandile for the man.
And these are human?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. My main characters are humans, and they are part of this left-wing activist group that are trying to get support prawn approval in South Africa specifically. But they realize that their leader, who just goes by the name Captain, is becoming maybe a little too radicalized for them, but they're still going along with it. They're doing it for a right cause, and they're justifying it along the way here. So they planning on breaking into MNU actually, because MNU continued operations in this because they just have heavy corruption in the South African government, and it's just they were able to keep going even through the scandal of Wikus, the entire thing. They just swept it under the rug, really. I can't remember his assistant's name that was in yours.
Yeah, I'll look it up. But
yeah, he kind of got swept away. He kind of disappeared, and no one knows really what happened to him. So anyways, they decide to break into MNU because inside sources says that there's this new project they're working on called Project Commoner that if they get their hands on this, it could really blow open MNU and really help make support for prawns a worldwide issue. So they break in, and they think that it's just kind of like a covert operation, that nothing really bad is happening, but it's revealed that some of the people with them are carrying weapons, and they end up killing a few of the guards, and Bandai and City, they're freaking out, but they just push forward. They're just like, we're too far in now, we can't go back, and they get Project Commoner. But on the way out, Bandai actually gets caught, and he gets caught, and they escape. La City wants to go back, but Captain's just like, no, we can't go back. We'll get him later. We have to go now. So then they go into looking into what Project Commoner is, and it's DNA splicing between prawns and humans. They want to be able to do basically what happened to Wikus. They just want to make it happen to anyone so that they can then use the weaponry of the prawns, and they're going to sell it to the highest bidder across the world. They're just looking at they don't care who they're selling to, just terrorist groups, any sort of government they're willing to sell this technology to. They haven't cracked it quite yet, but they're just working towards it, and they're using street children, it's revealed, and political prisoners, like protesters. They're using them as guinea pigs for this technology. And of course, La City is freaking out because she's just like, Bandai is going to be used as a guinea pig for this. We have to go back. And then Captain's like, I don't think so. He plans on just using this to blackmail MNU in order to get money. He's just like, this is our ticket out. We don't have to live like this anymore. They're kind of grungy. They're in a rundown place, really. They're just like, we can get out of this. It's not that I don't care about the prawns, but we need to make ourselves better in order to make them better. Right. And La City's just like, no, that's not our cause. And she tries to get Project Commoner and escape, but she's captured by her group, basically. They all turn on her, and they're just like, we can get out of this now. So they capture her, they lock her away. And then there's one character, Sean, who was kind of friends with La City and Bandai, but he's not as radicalized as the other ones. He's not as like, oh, we don't need to reveal this to the world. But he's just like, he lets her escape, basically. He sets her free. He's just like, I'm not going to give you this Project Commoner because I need that for myself. We need this as a group, but I don't think we should be holding you captive. That's not right for him. So he sets her free, and he says that to go to this one place, he's just like, there's something interesting here that you might want to see. And so she sneaks away, she goes there, and it's kind of like yours. It's an underground prawn meeting. Okay. And it's, they're trying to organize a riot, basically. They're trying to organize an uprising because, much like in the District 9, they know that prawns are being tested on as well, and their numbers they're not dwindling as much, but they're noticing more and more of them are disappearing, and they're just like, we have to do something. We have to just stand up for our rights as creatures, as intelligent beings. But then they spot La City, and they capture her. They're just like, oh, she's a spy. We need to take care of her. We want to kill her. And just before they're about to kill her, she calls out for Wikus. And she's like, is Wikus here? Is Wikus here? And Wikus, of course, is revealed to then be the leader of this group. And then it's revealed, because at the end of District 9, it was revealed that his wife was pregnant. La City is Wikus's daughter. And that's what got her into kind of prawn activism, because, his wife, I feel, was still like quite in love with him. She didn't believe any of the stories, really. Yep. And I feel like she taught her daughter, oh, the prawns, your father is one of them now. They're good things as long as you want them to be. They're just like humans, basically. So she grew up with a bit of respect for them and hoping one day to meet her father or whatever. Right. So that's revealed. and they have a bit of a moment because Wikus could speak prawn, so I imagine that they do have a way of learning the language of the prawns.
Yeah, I think that the way they show it at least is that the prawns can understand English and the humans can understand the way the prawns speak, but
they
because
can't.
of the way our mouths are
made, yeah.
we couldn't speak the prawn language, and the
Yeah.
prawns couldn't speak English.
Yeah.
Is the way it seems, at least.
Yeah. So they are able to communicate, at least Licity and Wikus. So they start talking a bit, and she says, "I know what's happening," and at that moment, they're raided by MNU soldiers, who knew about this, and big gunfight, start fighting each other, and some of the MNU soldiers are half prawn. They're able to use the weaponry now, so they know that this technology is starting to make a breakthrough. They escape, and Licity's just like, "We got to get back to MNU headquarters. We got to save my friend Bandile, and he'll have to figure out a way to get all this information out. If we get him, he'll know all this information." So they go to MNU, and it's basically under lockdown. But Wikus gets all of his prawn buddies, and they basically just like, "This is our moment. We got to raid the capital now, basically. We got to get our voices heard." So they basically stage an uprising at that point. They kind of fake a riot, kind of was what I was thinking, in order to distract the soldiers in one area so that Wikus and Licity could go in the back way. And they find Bandile, and he's altered. He's been tested on, and either one of his arms or whatever, he's part prawn now.
Okay.
And Wikus, I thought it would be good for Bandile and Wikus to just have a moment, just like that we've both been in this situation. We know what this is. And I think during the escape, I think Wikus would be killed saving them. Okay. I think that would be a good end for Wikus, full redemption on the way out. And then just as that's happening, news all over the world is going crazy about this. And I'm thinking that they'll escape, and they'll decide to meet up with Sean again, but they find that Sean has been killed by the group for letting Licity escape. And so they're just like, okay, we gotta know where to go. And they are able to tail their organizer and captain, who's going to do a handoff of Project Commoner. Of course, Captain is immediately killed, basically, as he steps out of his car or whatever, because they're not going to trade him anything. This is too high profile. But Licity and Bandile are there. They see it, and I'm thinking they might capture it on video camera or something. Yeah. And just as that's happening, Christopher arrives back. Okay. He returns, and he's able to fix Bandile, and they release the footage, and they release Project Commoner out into the world, and Christopher takes all the prawns, and they leave, and they say, "We're never coming back. We know of you now, but we don't want to be with you." Yeah. Okay. And that's how I think it would end. Just kind of everybody, all the prawns gone. It's kind of, I was thinking kind of a Christ symbolism of Christopher coming down, and what's it called? When all the good people go up.
The rapture.
Rapture. Yeah, I was thinking kind of rapturous of the prawns leaving, and I think he would offer to Bandile, "You are going to be one of us if you want, or you can stay." And I think that he decides to stay. But it's kind of a moment between.
But he's fixed back to human.
Well, I think that offer would be before he's fixed all the way. He could be like, "You can either turn and return with us to our home planet, or I can fix you and make you human again, and the choice is yours." And I think that he would choose to be human again. Okay. But I think that maybe there would be a bit of longing to be with them as they're going away after he sees what the humans have done to them.
Well, and one thing that I would think about that too is, do you think that the humans would actually accept him back? Like, once they know that he's already been part prawn and then been fixed, wouldn't he sort of always have? Because I have a feeling that the humans' prejudice towards the prawns wouldn't have just gone away just because they went away.
I don't know if there would be. I don't know if there would be a lot of time to kind of explore that, because I feel like it would end pretty soon after he makes his choice. But
So then, so in the first movie, when Chris says that he'll be back in 3 years, he just says that to Wikus.
Yeah.
Like nobody else hears that part of it.
Yeah.
So when the whole world is like preparing for the ship to come back, do they know that he said that they would be back?
No, I'm thinking that they just assume that it's going to come back.
Because they were here and they've left. And
Yeah.
They assume, okay, yeah,
Yeah,
that makes sense.
I was thinking that, like, oh, well, there's still prawns here, so either they're going to come back for them or they're going to come back for revenge on how we've been treating them.
Yeah. And then do you have an idea of how, so like when the ship arrives, is there, how, like what prevents the humans from just attacking it right away?
I think that Project Commoner will be released before, either as the ship is arriving or just before, and it's taking over, and it's just kind of like people being like, no, like, we see what we've been doing to them.
Okay.
They're not attacking us. They're not attacking us.
Okay.
I think just kind of like maybe like people would just be kind of like, they're not attacking us yet, so we should just hold off. I think at that point, just sanity would take over for a second. And
you could even have it where, like the UN or the Security Council or whatever, right? That the main person in charge of that, or like the majority of that body is sort of like, well, no, like let's just wait and see what's happening here. And then when that Project Commoner gets out, then they're like, look, see, we're the bad guys here. I mean, not that they would say it in those words, but
I think that maybe there would just be a little bit of awe to it again, just like there was in the first one. I think people would still be in awe of a spaceship arriving, so they wouldn't be able to react right away. Yeah.
Right. And then so the soldiers that are part prawn, so they actually have like prawn arms or something like that, right?
I was thinking either they'd have full prawn arms, or it would just be like a hand, maybe, or just something little small, so they're still mostly human. But yeah.
And so it's not just that they look human with the prawn DNA in them. They actually have prawn parts.
Yeah, they would actually have prawn parts, because I thought that would be an interesting thing just to kind of play with, just because these are people who hate the prawns, but they have to become part of them in order to, in their mind, fight them.
Right.
So,
and then is the transformation that they go through, is it something that stops at just like their hand or their arm or whatever, or is it something like Wikus where they're eventually going to become entirely prawn?
I think that they think that it has the control over it, but maybe it would be a good reveal of, oh no, we're slowly turning into them all the way, but they think, oh, it's stopped, but it hasn't all the way. Yeah, I was thinking that probably when they find Bandal, that would probably be something shown there of, oh, they thought that they had this under control, but they don't quite yet.
And so Project Commoner, is that when you said that they get it out and they release it, is it is Project Commoner like these kids that they've been testing on, or is it just data files?
Data files is what I was thinking. Yeah. Okay. Data files, videos of all these testing, and kind of what the assistant would have released. Fundizwa.
Yeah.
Kind of what he got jailed for releasing. I'd imagine it's kind of something like that. Okay. But just so much bigger that it would actually make MNU fall.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. And then would it? So you said it was a secret sequel.
Yes.
Would it? And it was called Project Commoner, right? Would it, in the weeks before it came out, be called District 10 Project Commoner, or would it always just stay?
I see it as staying Project Commoner, but I imagine a producer on this future sequel that will obviously be made would be like, no, it has to be called Project 9.
We'll wait to see what the vote is on which one's going to be made.
Okay. Yeah, but I personally would like to say Project Commoner, because I feel like District 10 Project Commoner would sound, it just doesn't flow well in my mind. But yeah. And I chose Project Commoner because they're turning the common man into the enemy. Yeah. All right.
That sounds good.
All right, so those are our sequels to District 9. And it's my turn to choose the next movie.
Yes.
And this will be a first for us, because we aren't pitching the sequel to a film. We are finishing off the amazing, what should be trilogy, that is the Crank series. We are pitching Crank 3.
I haven't seen any of these movies.
And producer John is freaking out a little.
I'm starting to feel like you're intentionally like, what's a movie Tim probably hasn't seen and would hate?
Hey, what movies have you hated so far that we've seen?
None that I've hated, but I mean, there's some, like World Police. It's like, okay. And I mean, Mystery Men I liked. What was the... But I don't know. Anyway, yeah, Crank. Good. So now I got to watch these movies.
They're not great movies, but they're amazing movies. That's what we'll say here. So you can go online to vote for which one of our sequels to District 9 you'd like to see. We post on our Facebook page, facebook.com/Showgo Podcast, or you can just look for The Show Must Go On Facebook. You could also follow us on Twitter at Showgo Podcast, myself at The True Rory, and you,
The Tim Kaler.
You can find us on SoundCloud, iTunes. You can rate and give us a review. That would be very nice. Thank you to producer John Hill, and we'll see you next time.
See you later.